Azir. Azir died the day he was meant to become a god. For thousands of years, his spirit wandered the ruins, watching his empire crumble to dust. Then, impossible as it seemed, he returned. Before his betrayal, Azir had a plan. Once he ascended, he would free every slave in Shurima, including Zerath. He was going to revolutionize the empire, transform it into something greater. The tragedy? Zerath never knew. Azir kept his promise secret, wanting it to be a surprise. So Zerath betrayed him for freedom he was already going to receive. Thousands of years passed. Shurima became a graveyard. Then Sivir, a mercenary, and Azir's last living descendant, was left dying in the desert. Her royal blood touched the ruins of the sun disk. Ancient magic recognized the imperial bloodline and pulled Azir's wandering spirit back. His incomplete ascension from millennia ago finally completed. Golden wings erupted from his back. He rose as the eagle-headed god warrior he was always meant to be. And behind him, the entire capital of Shurima tore itself from beneath the sand. Now, Azir commands legions of sand soldiers manifested from pure will. He can raise ancient structures with a thought. The desert itself bends to his command. But his ascension remains imperfect. He's weaker than he should be, incomplete. Still, he's godlike. He wants to restore Shurima to its former glory, to rebuild everything that was lost. But not everyone in Shurima believes in his vision of the past. Zerath. Zerath was never meant to be ascended. He was a slave, a mortal bound by chains. So he shattered every rule, betrayed his closest friend, and stole the power of the sun itself. When Azir was young, he met a slave boy in Shurima's library. The two became inseparable. Azir named him Zerath, even though slaves weren't allowed names. They grew up together, as close as brothers. Azir promised that when he became emperor, he would free Zerath and end slavery forever. But Zerath didn't trust promises. He had lived his entire life in chains, watching the powerful betray the weak. So he took matters into his own hands. It's heavily implied in the lore that Zerath orchestrated the deaths of Azir's father and brothers. He needed Azir on the throne so he could steal what should have been his friend's ascension. On the day of Azir's ceremony, Zerath used his magic to subvert the ritual. He pushed Azir aside and took the sun disk's power for himself. But the ritual wasn't designed for a slave. His mortal body couldn't contain the celestial energy. It disintegrated, leaving only his consciousness as pure arcane power, trapped in a sarcophagus of his own transformed flesh. This made him more powerful than any normal ascended. He transcended physical form entirely. He became living magic, able to command raw arcane energy and unmake matter itself. His imprisonment lasted centuries, but when he finally escaped, he brought catastrophe with him. Zerath's betrayal didn't just destroy his friendship with Azir, it shattered an empire. Nasus. Before Shurima fell, before the Darkin War tore the world apart, there was Nasus, a scholar who became a god warrior and the only ascended who never lost his way. In ancient Shurima, Nasus was a brilliant strategist and scholar. While his brother Renekton was the empire's greatest warrior, Nasus was its mind. He spent his days in libraries, studying history, tactics, and the nature of life itself. But when Shurima needed defenders, Nasus proved that intellect could be just as deadly as raw strength. He earned his ascension not through brute force, but through his unmatched strategic genius. The sun disk transformed him into a jackal-headed god warrior, one of the ascended. During Shurima's golden age, he led armies against threats that would have destroyed the empire. At Acathia, he commanded the ascended against the void itself, witnessing horrors that broke lesser minds. Yet, Nasus never faltered. He valued knowledge and strategy over mindless violence, building a library that contained millennia of wisdom. What makes Nasus truly powerful? He can age his enemies to dust with a single touch, draining centuries from them in seconds. The desert sands obey his commands. He has mastered life and death magic that few can comprehend. With every soul he reaps, he grows stronger. He's virtually immortal, and unlike other ascended, he resisted the corruption that turned his brothers into the Darkin. Nasus endured where others fell, He remained what he always was, a guardian, a scholar, an immortal protector of knowledge. But Nasus wasn't the only one to ascend that day. His brother followed him, Renekton. Where Nasus was the mind of Shurima's army, Renekton was its fury, a warrior so fearsome that even other Ascended stepped aside when he entered battle. Before his ascension, Renekton was already a legend. He fought on the front lines, wielding a crescent blade that had ended countless lives. But beneath the brutality was love for his brother. Nasus provided the strategy. Renekton provided the execution. When Nasus ascended, Renekton followed without hesitation. He transformed into a massive crocodile god warrior, becoming Shurima's executioner and its greatest weapon. For centuries, he served with honor. Then came the Darkin War. When the war finally ended, someone had to seal Zerath away. The tomb required a guardian, someone powerful enough to keep the Magus Ascendant contained. Renekton volunteered. He knew it meant imprisonment, possibly forever, but Nasus needed him. Shurima needed him. So he descended into darkness with Zerath, and the tomb was sealed. Centuries passed in that lightless prison, and Zerath whispered. He told Renekton that Nasus had abandoned him, that his brother chose duty over family, that the scholar never even tried to free him. The whispers twisted truth into lies, love into hatred. Slowly, methodically, Zerath broke Renekton's mind. When Renekton finally escaped, he was no longer Shurima's protector. He was a mad beast, driven by one thought. Find Nasus. Make him suffer. His power had grown in captivity, fueled by rage and pain. Now, the Butcher of the Sands hunts the only person he ever truly loved. Rammus. In a land of ascended gods and ancient emperors, there's something rolling through the desert that nobody understands. Not a god, not a spirit, just Rammus. And he might be more powerful than all of them. Nobody knows what Rammus actually is. Some legends say he's an ascended who transcended language itself. Others claim he's a god that predates Shurima entirely. There are theories he's a fragment of a larger, unknowable entity. The truth? Nobody has any idea. He doesn't speak. He doesn't explain. He just exists. What makes Rammus fascinating is what he does, or rather, what he survives. He appears during pivotal moments in Shuriman history, rolling through events that reshape nations. He crosses battlefields completely unharmed. Ascended warriors can't scratch his shell. Zerath's reality-bending magic simply deflects off him. When Azir's capital rose from the sands, Rammus was there, watching silently before rolling away. He performs random acts that seem meaningless, but somehow alter the course of history. A rolled path here, a brief appearance there, the occasional okay that has become the stuff of legend across Shurima.